Module 3, we are going to get into the work now. And it all starts with defining your market, right? First strategic decision that you have to make is who are your ideal clients. There was a direct response writer, Gary Halpert, and he would often start his seminars by asking the crowd, if you were going to start a hamburger stand on the beach, what is the one absolutely indispensable thing that you need to have in order to be successful? And he would hear, you need a secret recipe, you need the highest quality meat, you need attractive wait staff. And he always came back to them and said, no, you need a starving crowd, right? First and foremost, you have to have a starving crowd, people that are hungry for your services, right? Otherwise, it's all window dressing. A lot of you already have done good work into kind of thinking through, who are your ideal customers, and so I'm not necessarily asking you to rethink all of that, but what we are going to do is get very specific. Gary had 3 principles to zero in on a target market, and the first was a market that can be reached economically, right? And it doesn't actually matter if you have a bunch of great potential clients, but they're on an island in the South Pacific with no connection to, the outside world, right? So number 1 is your ideal clients, your starving crowd needs to be reachable, right? A reasonable, you can reach them reasonably. Number 2, that want to buy. And one of the cool things about the automatic marketing machine is that we're not going to waste our time and effort putting all these resources into chasing down people that really aren't interested, right? That's the whole concept of lead magnets and follow-up is we're getting people to identify themselves as interested in your services so that you don't have to waste a bunch of time and resources talking them in to wanting to buy from you, right? We're going to go after people that self-identify themselves as already interested. And then third is that are able to buy. And it obviously does you no good if you have a bunch of potential clients that want to buy, want your services, but cannot afford them or for whatever reason cannot use them. So that's kind of the big 3, reached economically, want to buy, and are able to buy. And so when it comes to dialing in your target market, and this is where we're going to spend some time today, one of the biggest mistakes that a ton of businesses make is not being specific enough and not recognizing that, hey, listen, I probably have multiple buying personas, right? And they are different demographically and they make decisions differently. And so what ends up happening is you just market to everybody with the same message, but the truth is, like persona A over here is going to respond to a totally different message than persona B over here. And so this is about doing the legwork of sitting down and saying, okay, we have probably multiple buyer personas. We're going to get real specific about each one of them so we can hit each of them with targeted messaging. I did a lot of work and still do some consulting work with political campaigns in North Carolina. I've consulted with some statewide campaigns, some local campaigns, and one thing that any sophisticated political campaign does right off the bat is they create a whole bunch of micro-targeted personas because they know that there's a group of people who are going to respond to messaging on healthcare, and there's a different group of people that are going to respond to messaging on taxes or whatever the case may be, but then they dial in like real micro-targeted messaging based on those specific personas, and it's something they do really well, and it's because they realize that different people have different priorities and care about different things. Obvious, but you have to do the legwork to actually aim the machine properly. So that's what we're going to be doing in this session here. And there's 3 things to think through when it comes to dialing in your target market. It is demographics, right? So that's kind of the obvious. That's age, gender, physical location. That's the kind of obvious like profiling information. Then there is the psychographic side of things, which is really getting into values and passions and causes and hobbies and things that don't necessarily show up, in census data, but really play a driving role in driving these people's buying decisions. What matters to them? What are their priorities? What gets them out of bed in the morning? What do they care about? What makes them mad? So that's psychographics. And again, as we're going through this exercise, it's really important that we don't lump groups of people together that really shouldn't be lumped together. Like, for example, you may have, all of your market may be men in a certain age range, but if they have different, professional backgrounds, if they have different values, different things that animate them, they really are probably a separate buyer persona because they're going to respond to different messaging. Everybody clear on that? Does that make sense? All right. So it's about being specific, right? The average law firm that hasn't thought about this marketing in this level of strategic depth is going to say, hey, anyone in my city that wants a divorce is a good client for me. And contrast that with women seeking divorce, ages 35 to 50, in these 3 specific zip codes with a household net worth of over $250,000, kids under the age of 18, values that matter to them are health, wellness, independence, and they don't want to lose financial security, and that's something that keeps them up at night. You can create, obviously, a much more powerful, targeted, compelling marketing messaging when you define your market to this level. So page 20 is the first client persona. And what we've got is, on page 20, are kind of the demographics and basic psychographic information. But then on page 21, we've got some designed to be thought-provoking questions to really help you get to know these people on a deeper level. And so it's questions like, what keeps them up at night, eyes open staring at the ceiling? What are the stresses? What are the things that make them mad? What are the things that make them angry? What do they secretly desire the most, right? A number of questions kind of around the psychology of these people. So let's go ahead and jump into this, starting on page 20. I gave you space in the workbook to do this for 5 personas. Some of you might only have 1. Most of you probably don't have 5. But we're going to take some time. We're going to roll up our sleeves and get into this here, and go through this for however many personas is appropriate to your law firm. So let's jump into it. Jump up on the mic if you have questions. Happy to clarify or explain.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm Debbie Tosick.
Perfect. So I was going to say, if you guys, because I don't know a lot of this room, if everyone could hop up and kind of give me your name and magic statement when you come to the mic, which you were starting to do, Debbie, which is perfect. But if everybody could do that, that would be super helpful. Thank you. So go ahead, Debbie.
Okay. We help injured people put their lives back together and protect their futures. And I am the perfect example of what you just put up, except my ideal client is anyone who's been seriously injured. And obviously, we want to have insurance coverage or it's money to go after. And I don't know how to narrow that down because even my list of people I'm going to call today ranges from a kid in his 20s who's got a traumatic brain injury to a woman who is a real estate broker and then a guy who's total blue collar worker. I mean, it's not any defined demographic.
Geographically, does it?
Yeah, but it's not just. I'm in Boulder, but I mean, ironically, it's I probably have more clients outside of Boulder than I do inside of Boulder, meaning Denver, other cities.
Yeah. So it's totally fine if the triggering event is, a traumatic injury and that's what really marks somebody as an ideal client for you. But I would still encourage you to put, be clear on what's your geography, right? So we know, what zip codes we want to be targeting with ads and things like that. If you find that that there are some demographic trends, men tend to be better or whatever, you can include that. But it's fine if what makes them a good client is there's a specific triggering event and they're within a certain geography. Like, that's totally fine.
Well, and the funny thing is like it occurs to me that people with higher incomes are going to have their own insurance coverage, which helps, which means there's coverage available. But I don't necessarily know if I'd want to just work with people that have money. Because I mean, some of my favorite clients are the people that need me the most because they don't have the money for anything, you know.
Yeah. So that sounds like, at least two personas you've got going on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess just geographically, though.
Yeah. Well, and some have money and some don't. And those are obviously, that needs to be two different personas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good question.
Romero Rodriguez, when injured, we're your best friend against the insurance company. It's kind of along her same lines, but what I want to know is I'm looking at the client persona after they've been injured, because say there's what keeps them up at night is how to pay the medical bills, right? So you're asking me to look at them after they've been injured, not they lay up at night, wondering what's going to come on TV.
Yeah.
This is before
so this
they're
is
injured.
about like the point where they're considering, hiring
PNC.
So yeah, in your case, definitely what keeps them awake at night as a result of their injury. Definitely.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey.
Hi, I'm Joy Edwards with the Edwards Law Group, and we take on the Ugleen family law cases so our clients don't have to. And I think what I've struggled with trying to come up with my avatar is, like, what if what I think is a good client is actually not a good client? Then I end up attracting the wrong type of thing. For instance, the people that I have lined up to call, one of them still owes me money. She's making monthly payments, but she still owes me money. I really liked her case. I liked her attitude. I liked the way she helped. Like, I liked all those things, but ultimately, it's a business. It's not a friend club. So what do I do with that?
If I was creating a client persona for my business, the ability to pay me would be a non-negotiable part
Right.
of an ideal client.
Right,
Like,
so she's paid. It was an extremely expensive case. At the end of it, we got attorney's fees that wiped out some of it. But, to go from what you think is going to be a $10,000 case to a $40,000 case, she just couldn't turn that around. So she pays $1,000 every month. Not terrible, but obviously I would have liked someone who could stroke a check for $40,000.
Sure.
So then does she not go on my ideal client list because of that?
So I would say you probably have a couple different personas there. I would, for it to be an ideal client, I want them to be able to pay me on time. And so to me, your number one client avatar, they need to be able to pay you.
Okay.
If they meet all the other criteria, and you have systems in place to deal with it, to make sure you collect payment and you ultimately get paid, cool, that's probably okay. But yeah, for me, getting paid is a pretty critical part of them being a client, an ideal client.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm Jay Granados, and we're from Simply Legal, where we make deals happen. And we're real estate and business attorneys. So we mainly deal with, we do B2B. So one of the, I think, avatars that we have on the corporate side, actually on the real estate, it's a mix. We help real estate developers or real estate investors with commercial acquisition or the financing of it or some mix in between. So we do both the corporate work and the real estate work, which makes us, we bring something unique to the market. So in trying to build the avatar for that, it's kind of, I guess we're struggling with when we talk about the hobbies and when we talk about the the psychographics and whatnot. So could you guide us a little bit as to how we could target or how we could build an avatar around these kind of people?
So
Or businesses.
developers, right?
Yes.
Um,
Or investors.
Okay, so probably at least two different personas, right?
Yes.
Developers, investors. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to come up with, like, if hobbies don't matter, like, that's fine. If like half of your audience leans liberal politically and the other half leans conservative, it doesn't matter, then just don't include it on your persona. Like, what does matter? Like what does make them an ideal client? It sounds like hobbies don't matter, so just don't include that.
Okay. So yeah, so I guess either on the developer side, maybe like a legal budget, and because we help out, they usually have in-house counsel, so we will help them out as outside. And then I guess on the investor side is how much money they have to spend on real estate investments. That it doesn't matter gender, nothing like that, whether they're married or not. We have many different demographics. So do we just throw all of those out the window?
I mean, geography probably matters, right?
Yes.
So geography matters. If it doesn't matter, if gender doesn't matter, like truly, like you're telling me that you really pretty much see like a 50-50 split?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, if it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And focus on revenue or income available to invest, and focus on what does matter. You know, you definitely don't have to fill out every piece of the avatar. Like it's fine to leave a few blank if they don't matter.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect.
Hello again.
Hey.
I'm Tessie Edwards, and I own Tessie D. Edwards and Associates, where we help good people going through bad breakups protect their assets and their relationships with their children. No relationship to Joy Edwards, though I love her. Retained her for my husband way before I started doing family law, quinky dink. What's a B2B?
Business to business. So if you are, who are your clients? Okay, so you're not serving businesses, correct? So you're not serving businesses. Okay, perfect. Then you don't need to worry about it.
Hi, I'm John Mangan,
Hey,
Palm
John.
City, Florida. We help people preserve and protect their legacy. One of the main departments of our firm is probate and trust administration. And I'm having difficulty creating an avatar for that client because the number one most important thing we are looking for is an estate or a trust that has a substantial amount of assets in it. But that typically is going to relate to assets that were owned by somebody who's now deceased. And the person who becomes our client is whoever the executor or successor trustee is. So with that person being our client, it seems to me like a lot of these factors that might be specific to that person are kind of irrelevant to us. For example, with geographic location, we don't care where they're located. We have plenty of...
Anywhere in Florida or?
Florida's fine, but we have plenty from New York, New Jersey,
Okay.
wherever. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I think that's fine, and I think you write that down. Like, obviously you don't have I would assume you don't have a marketing budget to blanket the entire United States, right?
That's fair to say, yeah.
So where do your best clients come from? Part of this exercise is thinking through where we're investing resources. And so maybe you can serve people all over the United States, but it makes more sense to start in the Florida, Palm City area around you.
Right. There has to be a nexus to Florida.
Yeah.
In other words, the decedent typically was a resident of Florida.
Yeah. So start with what you do know, so geography, and I imagine, is there a sort of typical age range of?
40 plus, I would say.
Okay, so there you go. Just know that, like, for example, the process of creating like lead magnets, which is what we're going to get into, part of that is that's where we call out the specific problem. So, for example, if your persona, if your target market information is, we're targeting people in, say, Palm City and also New York, and we know that on average your best clients are ages 40 to 65 or whatever. Well, let's gather all that information, and then we're going to put these lead magnets in front of them. What to do if you're suddenly the executor of a will, and then that's what identifies. They respond to that, and that's what signifies. That they're a potential client, but we still need to have some like basic parameters so we even know where to like be running those ads, for example.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. It's
Okay.
this part is a lot more challenging than when
Yeah.
I think about our estate planning client persona.
Sure, I totally get it, and it is hard. And the thing to remember is it's about directing resources too. It's helping decide like where we're going to spend money, where we even want to air ads. So as much information as you can pull together, like that helps direct the campaign.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Hello, Angela Klink again. My best clients come from referral sources, so I'm thinking I should can I do direct marketing to those referral sources?
That is such a good question, and I'm really glad you brought that up because I imagine there's some other people here in that same boat. If your best source of new business is referral sources, well then definitely, realtors, like I don't know what type of business you're in, but like the information about your referral sources can absolutely be one of your personas.
So I should have maybe different personas for the
Yeah.
referral sources.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like what
So,
sources do you get
financial
referrals from?
planners, realtors, accountants.
Absolutely. So each potentially those could each be their own persona, but if they all basically kind of have the same concerns and then it might be one persona. But definitely, if you get a lot of your business from specific referral sources, absolutely that is a persona. Great question.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. This question, I've been struggling with this for a long time, and it's the goal of my clients. My clients are looking to raise capital for their business or fund
Yep.
from investors.
Yep.
That's what they want to do.
Yep.
I don't help them raise money. I help them do that so they don't get into trouble with the SEC or get sued by their investors. I help them to do it the right way when they do it. But they want to raise money. I don't know if they care so much or think so much about getting into trouble. They just want to raise the money. So
I think that's great.
how do I help them? How do I message them?
So literally the next module is messaging. And so we will get into that. For now, just get the information down. If they want to raise capital, if that's what they wake up in the morning like, listen, I need to raise capital, that's perfect. That's what should go in your persona. And we'll talk about how to create messaging for those people next module.
Yes, for the questions that you have at the end, like the stars, should we fill those out first to kind of help us get to our ideal client personas?
No, so the idea is you're doing the demographic and psychographic information first.
Okay.
And then based on, so that persona, maybe that's, who is, give me an example of an ideal client for you. Like demographically.
Well, I say 32 to 60. I think gender doesn't matter. I recall thinking in my head, I wanted someone who was, for the most part, emotionally over the divorce, and they're more concerned about that, or in the alternative, they have a therapist. They actually have a therapist who's going to deal with that portion of it. And I was assigning gender roles and saying a man is over and a woman isn't.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily true. It's just one is more willing to talk about it with their attorney, and one is smart enough to know to talk about it with their therapist. So I changed that to say doesn't matter. Family status would be currently married and seeking to divorce. Household income, I said, $65K and up, maybe. But I think what's more important to me is an actual house, because I've learned how to attach my legal fees to a house, so I get paid guaranteed if there's actually a house to sell.
Sure.
So I think can I write that as far as household income?
Yeah?
Okay.
Or put that in as a note under.
As a note,
other?
okay.
Yeah.
And then my geographic location is
Yeah.
South Florida, more specifically Miami-Dade and Broward.
Yeah.
I do not fuck with Palm Beach. And then occupation, I say semi-professional and up. Some college, I know there are some people, I said it's more income-based. The more money you make, in general, the more you're
Yeah.
able to afford it. Some college means that you can fill out my forms.
Sure.
You're computer literate for the most part. And everything, well, not everything, but a lot of what I do is that. Hobbies, I don't know that it's really relevant necessarily unless I start really nitpicking, because if I don't care about their occupation, really, I don't care necessarily about their hobbies. So I put not relevant. Values, value their time. Damn it, I can't read. I don't know what I wrote. I put political and philosophical. I'm like not too far right, not too far left,
Yeah.
just somewhere in there. And goals and challenges to keep what they have. They don't want to be bled dry,
Yeah.
which I think that falls into what keeps them up at night,
Yeah.
which is why I was wondering whether I should fill that out first.
Yeah, you're doing it perfectly.
Okay.
So you've got a great demographic, psychographic breakdown.
Okay.
So then just go ahead and then start answering those questions.
Okay, because that's for
second.
divorce, and I'm going to do one for paternity and
Perfect.
okay. all right.
Perfect.
So my clients are in different industries.
Yep.
Right? Some the ones I want are in different industries. Real estate is a big one.
Yep.
Finance is another one.
Yep.
But the other stuff is kind of the same. Is that okay?
Pretty much everything else is the same.
I don't know why it would be different.
Yeah. How many different industries did you say? Real estate, finance?
I mean, there's say 3 or 4 industries that I want.
Yeah.
I mean, any industry right now it makes up my client base, but I don't want every.
I would still make those different personas. Those are each a distinct persona. You don't have to like rewrite everything, but like make them a distinct persona because it matters from a marketing standpoint. Like if you're thinking about, maybe a trade show, well, you need to be restricted to, you're going after like a financial industries trade show versus a real estate trade show. So you should have those would be different personas. Even if they're basically the same in every way, but they work in different industries, that's very relevant from like a marketing strategy standpoint. So yeah, does that make sense? Yes. We're plenty of time to keep working on this, but if anybody has a persona you want to share, I'd love to hear it.
So I've got one, John Mangan, Palm City, Florida. Got one for a referral source, financial advisors. So they tend to be 40 years old and up, typically male for us, married with children, household income at least $200,000. Geographically, and maybe this is 2 personas, but we've got in our local area, which is kind of a tri-county area, and then we've also gotten some really good referral sources up in New York, New Jersey, the Northeast for clients that are moving to Florida or have 2 homes in those areas and that kind of thing.
I would definitely do that as 2 personas because I can easily see doing a marketing campaign dialed in specifically for the advisors up in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Because they have some unique things they're dealing with. Their clients are moving down. So I would definitely do that as 2 personas.
That makes sense because the advisors we work with locally, we tend to have personal relationships with, just, attending mutual organization meetings and that kind of thing. But we've had some advisors from up north find us online. They really liked our website, what we stood for, reach out to us, and have referred us some really good clients. So that leads me to believe we can find a lot more people like that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay,
That's
great.
great,
Thank
John.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi. Sam Abugadir. We help people when they are going through the toughest times of their life, divorce and death. So I have multiple personas or multiple avatars because 50% of my practice is family law and the other 50% is probate. So I did divorce. 30 to 50-year-old male. Household income is above $150,000. Occupation usually a professional. Hobbies are golf and tennis and valuing family. As far as political, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect our work.
Yeah.
And goals and challenges I'm going to get into here. What keeps them awake at night is money. So they're usually the ones that make the most in the marriage. They're afraid of their children being brainwashed. That's like their number one concern. And they're also afraid of not being able to spend quality time with their children. What are they angry about? Having to pay alimony and child support because of an angry wife. What do they secretly desire? Freedom, because they're unhappy. Who else is selling something? This is the part that I didn't really know. I put other attorneys that are not going to be able to solve their problem. And then who is somebody that would be able? Other attorneys as well, because it's a large market in Miami. What else have they tried to do on their own that's failed? This is our biggest problem. They try to settle the case before they hire us, and then they end up promising the stars, the moon, the sky, everything. And then by the time we come in to negotiate, it's really hard to negotiate anything because they've already offered everything.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of guilt over the divorce.
Yeah.
Giving them respect, what did they try to buy? Why did they try to buy a solution that didn't work? Because it was cheaper and they thought it would be quicker.
Yeah.
And then what happens to them if they don't take action? They continue to suffer and be unhappy.
So this is so good. Like that is so good. There's going to be so much that you can play off of as we build out lead magnets and talk about your messaging. Like that. That's really well done. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your name again?
Sam.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. That was
Thank
awesome.
you. Thanks.
How you doing?
Hey.
So, crazy question. Is it possible to have the same avatar
To just have one avatar?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the estate planning world, right? So we're always looking for, high income, professional, people who care about their kids, people who don't want to move mom and dad when they're, I mean, we're always looking for the same profile of who the client is. We're not, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And if that's truly the case, that's fine.
Yep.
But let's just be really sure that actually is the case.
Okay.
Describe it again for me.
So it's, white collar, solid, income above 150, have kids, for minor planning, and then have some money, right? So we can do some
Yep.
trust work and things like
Yep.
that. We're not, and somebody mentioned it earlier, we know who we don't want, right? We don't want somebody who doesn't care about their stuff,
Yeah.
doesn't have any stuff. So
Yeah.
it's, it's sort of, upper middle income.
So what about like
ages are always, the ages are the same. The product is different.
Yeah.
But we get, somebody who's got young kids, 30 to 50. So that's
Yeah.
one type of plan. Somebody whose kids are older, so they're 50
Yeah.
to 70. So we know the ages are different because they're going to do different types of planning.
But do they come in with different questions, like based on their age, or is it really the same thing that's driving them in regardless of their age?
The questions are a little bit different. Like the people with young kids are worried about who gets my kids if I check out. The people who are, older, maybe 60-ish, they're worried about how do I get my money to my kids. And then if they're a little older than that, they're worried about going to a nursing home.
Yeah.
But they're the same people. The questions are different. They're just they're at different spots along
I
that
would suggest-
planning continuum.
I would suggest that those are multiple personas.
Okay.
Because those driving questions, like taking care of my kids versus nursing home, are dramatically different enough that I can see wanting to create distinct campaigns, possibly using different media channels. So to me, those are three distinct avatars.
Personas, yeah, 3 avatars, but the other things can all be the same. Like I don't have
Totally.
I don't have to make up somebody
Yeah.
to say, well, no, I don't want somebody with a lot of
Yeah.
money. I'm not making that stuff up.
Totally.
Those pieces, the demographic piece is all the same, but you're right, the things that they're
Yeah.
trying to source for are
Yeah.
always going to be different.
Well,
So
and,
yes,
and I'm guessing, the second part of this, the kind of psychographic questions, those are going to be different answers.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, when your
So,
kids
yeah.
are old, you don't care about guardianship anymore. You're worried about the nursing home.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of money, you're worried about
Yeah.
probate
Yeah.
avoidance. Yeah, so those
Yeah.
things can be different.
Yeah.
But
So those are definitely distinct.
Okay.
I would say definitely distinct personas, even if by and large there's a lot of things that make them the same. There are some key things that are different.
yeah,
And so
same
they-
fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Those are all going to be different
Yeah.
for each one of them. All right, thank you.
Yep.
I also feel like this is where referral source would be a good persona to do.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Financial advisor, someone.
Yep.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah, my question was actually kind of similar. So Andy Wyman Legal Solutions, I'm out of Boca Raton, Florida. We help people whose dream home is turned into a nightmare. And a lot of our clients are owners of homes who have construction projects that have gone horribly bad. Or better yet, the client who kind of comes to us first before the project gets off the ground to help them get a contract in place that's not going to, that's going to protect them as best as it can. But we've identified that clients come to us at certain points in the cycle of their project. It's the best is when they come to us first, like I said, and we can get a contract out or work with them and their contractor to put a contract together. But usually that's not the case. Usually they've signed whatever was put in front of them. There's barely any detail, and then they kind of reach out to us as things start to go sideways, either in time or money or quality of the work. And then later on in the project, they're faced at a point where it's near the end of the project. They can't get their contractor to come back and finish the job, or they've got a lien put on their house, or after the fact, the project's done, and now they've got these construction defects that they're dealing with. So, and I get people who reach out to us of all different types of projects. Some people they had a $30,000 window replacement project on their house. It's hard for us to help those kinds of people. Best for me is the folks who are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into their house, and now they've got the problems, or we can help those people, and they can afford to pay us the hourly rate we charge to do this kind of work.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if, again, they're facing, and on our website, I think does a good job of addressing these specific pain points or points in the process, but is it, again, it's sort of like a different avatar for
So it sounds like what you're describing is maybe slightly different than the gentleman before you, because it really sounds like they're basically the same in pretty much every way, except for the specific thing that went wrong with their house.
Yeah,
Is that-
yeah, right. It's either they're dealing with a problem. Either they're coming to us because they know that they need the help to get the
Yeah.
project done right in the first place, or they're facing a lien on their house, or they're
Yeah.
they're
So and we're splitting hairs a little bit here, but
Yeah.
ultimately, to me, that's probably one persona And there are going to be, as we get into messaging, there's going to be a few different like lead magnets and triggering points, but that basically sounds like one persona. So what I would think about is referral sources, and are there some other personas beyond that one? Yeah, referrals.
Sure. I
is
mean,
kinda
you
where I
know,
go.
the idea is to target the people who have high net worth, live
Yeah.
in the zip codes where they're living
Yeah.
on the water, and or in community country club kind of
Yeah.
communities, which in Boca Raton are, we've got a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I think I got it.
Awesome.
All right.
Good
Thanks.
work.
Yep.
Have you heard of that concept, birds of a feather flock together, and there's like this whole marketing concept with like different neighborhoods have different, so basically what I'm asking is like for some people, those of us maybe who haven't done this, like, I know obviously that part of this exercise is figuring this out and looking at our ideal client.
Yep.
But I'm assuming some of this is like kind of a textbook, the first-time home buyer persona, the widow persona, there's kind of some set ones that might help us as, like, to do this more efficiently and have, like, once we do our first 2 or 3, then we can, like, so how, like, is that going to be part of the class or learning how to,
That's
do you see what I'm asking?
That is kind of the point of this exercise.
Okay.
So tell me about your ideal clients. Tell me about what
Well,
you've got
I
so
have,
far.
I have Wendy Widow, I have Sally of the Sally Sandwich, who's the sandwich generation. I have Fritz, the first-time home buyer. I have, the family business owner. Then I have my referral source persona. Like, I got a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, I love that, and I love that you have names on all of them. I mean, I think you're in a great
Like,
spot.
I have pictures of some of these. Like, what
Yeah.
celebrity matches each of them?
That's so great. So you're in great shape for this module, and
Okay.
you got a really
Well,
good
I mean, but
foundation.
I haven't totally built them out, like, in terms of, like, I know kind of the top line information about each of them, but, like, the building them out part.
Well, and do you have a sense of some of the psychographic, psychological
Yeah.
answers?
Yeah, but I'm just wondering in terms of efficiency to have, like, some textbook definition, like most financial advisors are worried about X, or most first-time home buyers are worried about X,
Yeah. Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head.
Okay.
We will get into this a little bit more as we move on today. But, one exercise that can be really helpful is the idea of find out what type of entertainment they're into, for example. Like, what TV shows do they watch? What YouTube channels do they subscribe to? And immerse yourself in that and get a sense of, literally, like, it's just how well can you get to know them. So, like, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer to that necessarily. I
Okay.
think it's just about really, and it sounds like you've honestly done an awesome job of this so far.
I was a marketing major before I became an
Well, there
attorney,
you go.
so but now I never did marketing. I just went straight to law school.
Yeah. I think you're on a really good track with that.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting to hear how your calls go. Do you have some
Okay.
calls lined up at
Yeah, I have
lunch?
some calls lined up, but I'm assuming for, like, the purposes of this, we don't want to do this for, like, 10 different ones for this workshop. Like, we want to pick
No.
our best 1 or 2.
Yeah, pick your best 1 or 2 or 3. If you want to do up to 5, like, feel free. But I would say, pick your best 3.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep.
Hi.
Hey.
I'm Polly. We prevent lawsuits so that horse enthusiasts can spend their time riding. I practice equine law in California.
Wow, love it.
And my question is, I have several family offices that I work for or work with. And so these are people, multimillionaires, and they have a full team that helps manage, and they all have horses in some level and whatnot. And so as I was going through this, I was trying to decide if answering these questions should be based more on the people I'm working with directly in the family office or the actual principals. And also, all of my family office's contacts, I've gotten through referrals, not like through no actual marketing or what, you get in with one and then that sort of thing. So
So it sounds like just to make sure I fully understand, so who is it that is like, you have one person that's kind of doing like the initial research.
yeah,
But
and
then
within
they're
the
not
family
the-
office,
but
yeah,
then
there's
they-
usually 1 or 2 people, and they reach out to me initially and say, hey, this is our client, what can you do or how can you help
Yeah.
us and that sort of thing. And then sometimes I interface directly with the actual
Yeah.
parent,
So-
and then sometimes it's just with the family office. So
Yeah.
I have one call set up with the actual
Yeah.
parent, and then another with the actual,
Yeah.
a different family office.
So I think
person.
those are both personas. I would,
Two
I would,
separate
I would
ones.
use those as two separate personas because
Okay.
different people, different roles, different priorities, probably different trigger points.
Okay.
Definitely two personas.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Awesome.
I do immigration law. And so I'm going to go with the SKU that's probably going to get me the most repeat lifetime value for the client. So I want to catch people that are getting their green card for the first time. What I found is one was looking at, it's a couple. And so I wrote, usually it's I got a couple for the avatar. But kind of just thinking about it, I found that there are young couples that get married and want to fix their paperwork right away and get it done right.
Yep.
And then there's the couples where they've been living in the shadows and they've been doing all right with it until something in life has happened. And it's been usually they can't renew their driver's license. Their workforce is now on E-Verify. Social Security disability or something with Social Security, and they now need to have a green card in order to get those benefits. Some external deportation potentially, but some external factor shoved them into taking action.
Yeah.
And so I guess my question is just talking it through, does it make sense to basically have 4 personas? 2 personas for the husband or for the spouse and for the immigrant, for the people that just want to get their paperwork done right away, and then persona 3 and 4, which is spouse and immigrant, still the same problem, but something else is pushing them forward.
What's distinguished for me between 1 and 2 and 3
Yeah.
and 4?
1 and 2, generally they tend to be young couples, or they tend to be people that just got married.
Yep.
And it's okay, we're going to fix your green card now.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
This other couple, they've been hiding in the shadows for years, and they've been making it through for decades maybe. They have children, they have a life here.
Yeah.
Something came into their life that has now forced them to actually take action
Yeah.
on that and fix their
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
And so,
got
they're
it.
2 different
Yeah.
sales.
And so the difference between 1 and 2 then is just,
One tends to be a very educated, in my cases, they tend to be very educated consumer, they've looked at things
Yep.
online.
Yep.
They've shopped around
these are
a little
young
bit.
couples, yeah?
These are younger folks,
Yep.
or they tend to be more white
Yep.
collar, or I found I had teachers and registered nurses.
Yep.
And that, I just looked at my clients' tax returns to figure out what they do.
yep.
The other ones, it's they're caterers, someone's
Yeah.
they're in the trades
Yeah.
in some
So a
way.
little less sophistication.
Right.
Yeah. So that definitely sounds like 4 personas. I think that's the right way to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yep.
So mine's probably preliminary too, but when I pick my favorite clients, with A clients and stuff, it's more, it doesn't really have to do with anything demographically. It's, for instance, clients who don't have a victim mentality, who want to get better, who do take my advice and things like that. So, and don't fight me on everything.
Yeah.
Because I have their best interests. It's not because I don't want to deal with them. It's just
Yeah.
that we know how to make their claim worth the most. And
Yeah.
if they do all of these. And so
Yeah.
obviously we'll never know. It'll be hard to know that through an initial marketing. But I don't know. Are you going to get into that more? How to get those clients?
So basically, the question is how to attract
Clients who
the
are
right values and mindset and
they're willing to
Yeah.
do what they need to do to get better. To
Yes.
Okay, but
Yeah. The answer is yes.
Okay,
We'll get
good.
to that because that's really a messaging conversation, right? That is, if you have defined the demographics and now we know we have the parameters, the possible pool of PNCs for you, then it's a messaging conversation of how do we use the right lead magnet, how do we use the right language, how do we create the right videos that are really going to be attractive to the people in that bucket that have the mindset that you're looking for.
Okay.
So like this is really right now just about like let's just get clear on like the parameters. Like let's kind of aim, you know, and then how to create the message that's going to attract the right one of them. We'll get into that. For sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone mind hopping up on the microphone and just kind of giving me the rundown on page 30 of who your key personas are? If you want, raise your hand and I'll toss you this mic if you don't want to stand up on the microphone.
My name's Charles Hatley from Virginia Beach, and I have 4: divorcing wife, divorcing husband, younger estate, older estate.
Divorcing wife, divorcing husband, younger estate,
An older estate, yeah.
Cool, cool. And you went through and you've got your questions answered for each of them?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Cool. That's perfect. Anybody else? I'll pass it forward. Here you go.
Dodgeball.
Whew, nice arm.
Women 65 plus, children of people with assets 45 to 50, deceased, probate, referral sources, financial planners, accountants, real estate.
Perfect. Awesome.